All right, I'm live. Cut off my little chin. Let me do that. Okay. Everybody doing today? Let me close that so that doesn't happen again. Okay, so I've been saying that when I find free time in my world, I'm gonna jump on and do some reviews. Now, I did a lot of binge watching over the holiday. Um, so I got my list of stuff that I wanted to review. So today I'm gonna do the Best Man, the final chapters review. Um, I actually like went in with the plan. I'm gonna watch a couple hours and then come back. It was so good. I binge watched the whole thing like the entire night, and I'm not playing. I was like, I really just went hard in the bed and watched all these episodes. That's how good it was for me. So let's jump right in. Beautiful cinematography, color palettes, the various looks. I feel like each look that everyone wore represented everybody's character. So shout out to Malcolm Dealey and everybody who was on that, the team. You guys did an awesome job on that color palette. And it's like when the first movie came out in '99. I remember I saw that with a group of friends, and I remember when we saw it, it was like, ooh, like at the time we were basically like college students. Some of us were coming out of school, some of us were going into school. So we could resonate really well with the characters because they're out of school in the first movie, but they're still like that young adult life. So the first movie for us really resonated with me and my group. So when they came out with the next movie so many years later, uh that movie, I only saw the second movie one time because I cried in the theater. If you haven't seen it, then I won't give the spoiler on why I cried. But for those who seen, you know why I cried. And I was, even though I enjoyed, where we were going with the character arcs and seeing where the characters were in their life, I cried like a baby. I was like, oh my God, you guys got me so excited for this reunion. And then this happens. And, but good storytelling overall. So, when they said they were coming with the final chapters, I was really excited because I feel like we were finally going to get some kind of closure with the whole story. Because when they had the second movie, it was like, this cannot be the closure. Y'all can't do me like this. And it's not that it was a bad closure; it was just the closure that nobody wants to accept. They taught it was life, and that's what happens. And the interesting part about that story is, when I saw it, I didn't want to accept it. And then I think a couple of years later, I started losing close friends, people that you think are going to be here forever. And, when it happened, it was like, it all makes sense now. And so it's one of those kind of things where it's like a showcasing and telling a tale through life. So in these final chapters, we're getting like this. I don't want to say it was a rushed crash course of what happened to them from the ending of the year 2020, was it 2013, up until the pandemic and past into 2024. I don't want to say that because it didn't feel rushed for me because there were so many episodes. They actually had really good pacing in spite of it going the way it did with the whole story. I had to remind myself we were given the privilege of this being a series instead of a movie, even though in my mind I feel like I just watched a long 9 hour movie, which I'm fine with. It wasn't like it was a boring 9 hours because like I said, I went in saying, okay, I'm gonna try to do a chapter today, do a chapter like in a couple of days and so on. And I was like, that's so good. You know what? It's Friday. I ain't gotta go to work tomorrow. I'm gonna stay up and just watch this whole thing. And I did. I didn't fit. I started like I don't. What was it? It was late. I know I finished. It was like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, and as soon as it was off, I was like, I went. That was good, and literally crashed went to sleep. So let's see how I want to do this review. Okay, so the story arcs. So let's start with Julian and Candace. Let's start with their arc. So I like how the story shows them and how they're like, we both desire something. We're living the lives we want, we chose to live for our careers, and we're excited, but we all feel that there's something missing. And I know for me at 42, I'm technically not living in the career choice I want, but I do have a fulfillment because the work I do takes care of myself and my family. And then on the side, I do the work that I want to do, which is my arts and stuff. So, and I am using my skill set in my career. I will say that. So that's a good thing. As long as I'm using my skill sets, I'm fine. So as I watched those two characters, as they're both, teachers, and you see them in that first scene in the, wedding scene for Q, and that ayahuasca, am I saying that right? Ceremony, how everybody had different awakenings or different experiences, but I like how Candace discovered something in that and it changed her. I like when Murch's character, when he found what he needed, he was suppressing things in his life, and he was like, even though I never thought MMA fighting is something I want to do, I think I want to get in there and beat some, kick some and I appreciated those scenes. Like, I really did. I like seeing the challenges they were going through with their girls and working through whatever situations they had. So it was really, I appreciated watching this movie as a 42-year-old parent of an 8-year-old who, we're in third grade, and we're in the thick of it. Third grade's not bad, but it's definitely more challenging than the other grades he's been in, where it's like, okay, now we're doing the real stuff here. So I felt them and I related, and that's what I appreciated about watching their story. I also like how Julian felt the need to stand up and was like, I don't appreciate this, Harper. I don't like what you're doing, so I'm not coming to support. Even though I felt like we could have got a little more of that story, I like how he stood up for himself. So there were so many different moments in that. Another character arc things that I saw with Robin and Harper. So, we see them in the thick of their marriage now. They have their daughter. Harper is finally getting into the meat of his career the way he wants. He's not struggling like it was in the second movie. And then you have Robin, who is still dabbling in different things. And I'm not saying that anything's wrong with her wanting to be a dabbler in different things. That's who she always has been. And she has her husband, so her husband's there to support her and the family. And then when she does dabble in some type of business, it brings money into the household. So it's not like she's just dabbling and not making money. She's just on a different path. What got me was watching their marriage go from them trying to really be lovers to the breakup. Just like I said, I've had some family members and friends, really close friends, pass away that I never, that have been there and didn't think that was going to happen, and how I could relate to that with the second movie. I've also had some friends who've been married and family members who've been married who I thought would just stay together forever. And they were like, we're done. I'm walking away. You're like, So watching that dynamic was an interesting story from the place of understanding that sometimes when you get married, it's not forever. Now, I will say there were moments during their breakup where I was like, okay, Harper, you could be more attentive to your wife. And then there were times during their breakup where I was like, okay, well, Robin, I think you're being just a hair unfair with trying to ask so much of Harper when he's being the breadwinner and making sure you guys have what you need, and trying to force him into to literally stop some of his career when there's a timetable to go do something for you that's not really, I'm not saying it's not important, but she wanted him to make like a whole summer commitment. He was like, I can give you like a 2-week commitment, vacation kind of thing, but I can't give you a whole summer commitment. And there were certain things I was like, I wonder if there's a way they could work this out. And it just got to the point where it's like, they're headed in different directions. They got to walk, it's not going to work. And it's okay. There was the part in the end when they were going through the custody battle where she was like, I just decided I'm going to take her to Ghana. And there was no conversation. And he was like, I was okay with giving you full custody because I knew you guys would be right down the street. So I still get to see my child. Now you try to take it to a whole, And so there was those moments and people were like, yeah. And then some were like, I told you this was going to get messy. Like, no, not everybody was on each side, but you could still kind of understand the conversation because things like that do get messy. So in those moments, I was like, no, I would not take, like, I'm not with my son's dad anymore. But I would definitely not be like, look, I'm gonna take our child to Ghana and you could just, that's not right. You can't do that. So I was able to relate on both. And then also with her, I was like, Harper, I understand this is a big deal with your career, and there are some timetables you can't mess with because you're finally getting your bestseller. They want to go ahead and push the movie, and there's a timetable. It's not like an opportunity that's going to stay. So I get it. You got to go do what you got to do, but don't forget your family. Don't forsake your family. Carve out time. When she wanted that restaurant, I think he should have got it for her based on the fact that she loves to cook, based on the fact that it was a nice area. She was really big on trying to stay in the community where it was being gentrified. I feel like he dropped the ball with that. I really do. Because I'm always from the vein of if you have it and it makes sense as far as building, and it makes sense as far as presentation, and it makes sense as far as your community, and you can see a business that'll flourish and people will like it, go for it. And I liked what they were coming up with that. So I know when he couldn't deliver that, he lost her. I get it. Mm-hmm. Mm. So that whole story arc for me, the whole time I was watching, that's what was going through my head as I'm watching them go through their breakup. I'm always looking at the fine line, and I always know when there's a divorce, it's not one, well, in some cases it could be, but there's also some situations where both parties could be at play, and it's not an easy thing. It still is difficult. Okay, let's look at Q and Shelby. So the whole Q and Shelby, I enjoyed the first episode with Q and Ziamora. I think what's her name? Nicole R.E. Parker. I think she did a good job on that Ziamora character. That was cool. I was like, okay, y'all better do this. And then when Shelby showed up, I was like, where are they going? Because I know they've had a couple of love interest moments, and then I was like, oh, this is deeper than what we were making this out to be. And then you find out that's really her child's father, and the two of them are wrestling with commitment. They love the sneaky link aspect of the relationship. They know they love each other and they don't want to commit. And then finally the decision is made for them to commit, get married. Home chick, burns one of the properties down. And I was like, okay, we are going here. Like it was one of those kind of turns where it was like, I didn't see it coming. Maybe other people saw it. I don't know. But I didn't see it coming at first. But when it happened, I was like, this makes sense. This makes complete sense. And I like how their character arc changed throughout the years. How she was a good support for him, even as she's doing her businesses too. And as he's navigating through his properties with his father, and then the pandemic crashing, and then they're losing money, so they got to make decisions and things like that, and just all of that. Like when you go through financial devastation like that, having a good partner that you can bond with is good. And I liked seeing that dynamic. I liked seeing Shelby having to revamp herself from being, at one point she was the young hot thing on the scene in the reality TV world, and now she had to rebrand herself. And Nia was like, you got to pull out the debate team, Shelby. That's who I need on that talk show. And I like seeing that revamping. The other part that I really, when I say I enjoyed it, it's not that I enjoyed that it happened. I'm glad they didn't shy away from the conversation of personal health. With Quentin having that heart attack and him explaining all the various things surrounding his life after having the heart attack, I could relate. I had a small borderline block in a small artery. 2021, I had broke my leg. So, and I know I talk about it a lot on the channel because I'm still in recovery from all of this stuff. Like after I broke my leg, 12 screws in a plate in March 2021, took the cast off in May, tried to walk up my stairs for the first time, overexerted my heart because I had been in a hospital bed because I couldn't do a lot of movement. And so when I had the heart incident, it made me really start dealing with life. And it was like, I'm 42. I'm still young. I still look good. There's things I think I got all this time and all this stuff. So when Q was having that moment, it was like, oh my God, I could relate to this part of the story. So that's what I really enjoyed, is that I could relate. I knew exactly what he meant in those scenes, and I knew exactly what Shelby meant. She was like, I'm not losing you. This is not cute where we looking cute. This is, are your eyes blinking? Are you having a stroke? What's your blood pressure right now? We're gonna have some fun. I enjoyed that. When she was going through the menopause and she's like, I know I'm singing, but I'm trying to, I said, this is our life right now. Oh my God. So sometimes you need to see that in your favorite characters on TV, to see them acting out human experiences that we're having in this phase of life. Being in your 40s and in your late 30s, moving into your 50s is a hard reality check, because you're used to being on the go and your body slows you down and says, no, slow down. Your body does things and puts you in a position where you're like, okay, I can't do that. My knees ain't going to buckle the way they used to. I could dart, but I be trying to keep up with my son, and I got to tell him, okay, we got to slow down. We got to slow down. Yeah, because he be ready to take off, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna move as fast. So it was getting on me about health and exercise, make sure you take your medicine, all that kind of stuff. So I like the bonding with the daughter, even though I know they were having their moments with the financials and don't bribe her, and she's like, you got to be, you got to be stiff on her, you got to be hard on her, you can't be doing, okay, I'm gonna let you have the, no, you got to, you can't do that. But I enjoyed watching all that, even with the parent, watching the dad go from being this, top dog executive to now having to deal with his own humanity and going into forms of dementia, and them having to take care of their parent and seeing that, and Hugh having the support of his wife, the support of his daughter to help him through that. Like all those things, I've seen all of that in this life, and to watch that in the story, once again, it resonated in a way that I needed. It resonated just like it did in 99 when I'm watching the characters out of college, walking into the fullness, the peak of who they were. Okay, let's deal with Lance. Now, we all know that Mia is no longer in the story because what happened in the second movie. She does make a couple of cameos, but to see Lance and where he is in the story and his character arc, dealing with grief, dealing with what's left behind. And I'll keep Nia in this, not Nia, Jordan. Well, it's Nia Long playing the role, but Jordan, I'll put them kind of together because even though they're not romantically together, they are father and godparent. And so they have to operate as a team, even though they're not a couple. And I enjoyed watching both of their stories with this, because some of the topics that came up in the movie are topics and things we see right now in our children. Well, now millennials are a lot older, so I'll say our Gen Z and our Gen Alpha children, and them coming into the world, coming into their lifestyle, coming into who it is that they are, and us being accepting of who they are, not just tolerant, but accepting them who they are, and providing a safe space for that. And I think this was an interesting dichotomy with the story of having this legend football player and he's grooming his his son to be this next star athlete. And he's like, look, I can play the game. This is not really who I want to be. This is who I am. And when Nia sees it and she's like, oh, and it's not that she's pushed away from it. She's like, how are we going to walk Lance into this? Not so much, I can accept my godson for who he is. And he was actually going, they, so I should, let me say it correctly, they. That's what I can accept they, but how do we walk Lance into this? Because we know who Lance is. We know how Lance thinks. And I was appreciative that she was that voice of reason for Lance Jr., for his dad, as his dad came around. That's always needed. Sometimes, you need that auntie or that godparent or somebody to be there, to be that buffer if your parent may be strict in a certain way of things. I like how Q was trying to roll with it and couldn't get the words right. and because that happens too. There's conversations I've had with people and they're trying to understand what the proper terminology is, but then still be respectful. And it's like, okay, I'm trying to keep up. I can't keep up. So yeah, hi, I'm live. I'll be done in a quick second. So I appreciated that part of it too. I appreciate at the end, Lance started fighting through his demons of his grief. and coming around and bonding with his children, and then also him finding love again. Because when Mia died, none of us could see who's he gonna be with. So I appreciated that part. And then with Nia, I mean Jordan, well, her name is Nia in real life, but Jordan, the part that really spoke to me was being a single woman, making the choice not to have the family, not to have the children, and be the CEO and rock your skill sets in the corporate world, and then finding yourself in a place where you know you're working too hard and not giving yourself the rest you need, letting high blood pressure kind of be there and you not deal with it, the silent killer. So I'm glad they talked about that, because I had that happened. I'm telling you, every character, something spoke to me, because I remember when it happened to me and I'm just working, trying to pay my bills, going through, like, this is before I had my child. And then realizing you got to take care of yourself before yourself takes care of you. So I appreciate all of that. And then even when she thought she had the scare, and she's like, I don't know. So I really appreciated where they went with the story. I just want to pick up on two more things and then I'm going to end it. My favorite moment in the movie, and there's probably others, but the one where I laughed out on a lot of scenes. At the ayahuasca scene, that was one where I laughed out. The other was when they were having the argument between Robin and Harper, and Q jumped in to co-sign with Harper because he felt he was right when he said, you the one who had a baby and didn't tell that man for 10 years. And he was like, yeah. And she gave him that look and he went, keep your wife's, name out of your mouth. I laughed so loud. I said that was the perfect circle back around moment to something that was happening present day in a Black film. And I know everybody who watched it had the same moment. So that was one of my favorite moments. Of course, in the ayahuasca scene, I'm probably saying it wrong. I like how everybody was having different experiences. How some people had to go to the bathroom. Some was just like, touchy feely. And some was like, plants. That was so funny to me. I enjoyed it because, you never know how people experience it. And then there were some other scenes in the movie that really got to me too. Like, some of the moments where they were at dinner and some of the outfit changes and things like that. They paid so much close attention to detail. So if you get a moment to see the movie, definitely watch it. You will enjoy it as someone, like I said, who falls into that late 30s, early 40s, moving in the 50s, has children, has teenage children. There'll be so many moments you can relate to. There'll be so many moments. And even if you're younger and want to see it, go ahead. See the rest of the movies, the whole franchise. But there's so many parts that you'll enjoy. And that's what I enjoy. And I'm so grateful that the team came back and said, we're going to do this final chapter and we're going to do it as a series. I was so appreciative of that. So I'm Chanel J. Wilson, multidisciplinary artist and author. I will be back for another review. And hopefully at some point I will get myself together and get some entertainment for you. I want to do some more singing. My son and I have been doing a lot of schoolwork, and in the middle of schoolwork, he says, I have an idea for a little cartoon or a skit. So I'm trying to get some stuff together to start posting consistently the art parts, because we actually do the art every week. I just need to pull the camera out with it and bring you guys in and share. So I will definitely get some things together for that. So have a good weekend, rest of the week, and I will be back with another review.